move the microphone. Don't be loud. All right, that wasn't bad. That was loud. My bad. What up, Joseph?
What up, Cody?
Not to get personal, but what was the orthodontist appointment today?
Oh, so my last dentist appointment, which was like 3-4 weeks ago, I apparently have cavities on my wisdom teeth. I have 3 of my 4 wisdom teeth. I had one of them pulled out 20-something years ago, back when I was early 20s, I want to say. Something like that.
Sure.
Late teens, early 20s, something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so a couple of the other wisdom teeth are now developing cavities. The dentist was like, hey, do you want to actually fill these in, or do you want to get these pulled? And I was like, yeah, let's just look into getting them pulled. They took some x-rays at the dentist office, and they were like, yeah, we don't think we should do them here just because of how close your the top wisdom teeth are to your sinuses. So we're going to refer you over to a oral surgeon, really. Turns out it's an oral surgeon that I've been to before because I have a false tooth in the front. He did that, I don't know, some years ago as well, 2008 or 2009. That's right, they told me that. Anyway, that's the reason why I was seeing a oral surgeon or a orthodontist today. Was just as a consultation, get an idea of what they are going to do and how much it's going to be. Surprisingly cheap to get the 3 teeth pulled. And like during the consultation with the actual surgeon, I guess, he's like, yeah, I can have all those out of there in 30 minutes. It's like, wow, all right, cool. I'm good with that. He asked if I wanted to do anesthesia, like knock you out type stuff, and or just do local anesthetic. And I'm just going to do local. I've always just done local anesthetic for any dental work that I've ever done, including the removal of the first wisdom tooth. It also means that I don't have to fast before the surgery. And it means that I can actually drive myself home when I'm done with it, too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, shockingly inexpensive. So the final person they brought in was the person that would go over all the finances and stuff like that. And she's going over everything, and she's like, okay, like $400, and then something else. And then she's like, okay, and your final would be $139. And I was just like, in my head, because I don't do dental stuff a lot, I don't have a lot of these procedures done. So in my head, I have to work myself up to when I do these types of things, I'm like, okay, $2,000, right? If it's less than $2,000, I'll get it done. If it's more than that, that's a bit much for me. Hopefully my insurance covers a good chunk of stuff, and it's less than $2,000. And so she says $139, and I was just like,
per tooth?
1,000? Yeah, it's like 1,039, like 1,390. Like, I'm trying to wrap this in my head as to like an exact price, and then I'm like, I'm thinking to myself, I didn't ask her. Because this is just racing through my mind, because that came out in my mind as well. Like, is that per tooth? What's going on? And because I'm sitting like 10 feet away, from her. She's on the computer, and I lean over and I look at the computer, and sure enough, it's like, no, that's total $139. Oh, okay.
What, they just walk in,
That's
hit you
awesome.
with a fucking hammer, and just... Jesus.
As long as they numb me first, I don't care. What is funny, though, is, like I said, I've had it done before. I had it done once before, years ago. And I just remember it being more like a regular dentist appointment. Like I said, I had it done with Novocaine or whatever it is, the local anesthetic that they used, and they take it off in chunks. You know, they break it up and then they pull the tooth out in chunks. They sit you, but there was no like, it was like a regular dentist procedure. We're just going to remove this. Cool, just do it. Here during the consultation, because that's all I went in for in the first place, they have you sign all this paperwork. Fine. Like the paperwork, I got there a half an hour early because they suggest that you get there a half an hour early. And it literally took me a half an hour to fill out this paperwork.
Jesus.
To begin with. And then you go in and you talk with the nurse or whatever her title is.
Dental
and she goes
assistant.
over some of the stuff again, and then she goes, "Okay, I'm going to have you watch this video, and then we'll come back." It's like, this is weird, but it's a video about wisdom teeth removal. So she clicks it, and she opens up VLC media player.
Ew.
And just lets it run and leaves. And it's literally, it's like those like old like Death on the Highway type videos. They're like, this is the worst thing that could happen. It probably won't happen, but this is the worst thing that can happen. So they're like, okay, so you're impacted. If you have impacted wisdom teeth, which I didn't even know what impacted wisdom teeth are. Now I do, because I watched this video that talked about how it's basically teeth that, your wisdom teeth that don't grow out. They kind of grow into the other teeth that are right next to it. Impacted. Makes sense now.
Yep.
And they're just like, okay, so, you know, if you have impacted wisdom tooth, you know, something could go wrong with the nerve. That, you know, that could happen, especially on the lower jaw. On the upper jaw, you know, you could have like a tooth that just grows into your sinuses. Yeah, no big deal. You know, the lower, during surgery, you know, we could accidentally cut off more than we need to, or your jaw might break or something. You know, I don't know. Like, they're just going over all these things, and I'm just like, oh my God, am I gonna die? And the last thing that they say is like, well, they're going through a list, and they're like, oh, and during anesthesia, it possibly could be, you know, fatal. And I'm like, cool. After watching this video, it seriously feels like if I had impacted wisdom teeth, which thankfully I know I don't, all my wisdom teeth have grown out. But it really sounds like I can die from getting my wisdom teeth pulled, or have some like horrifying, you know, facial maiming. And I'm just sitting there like, good God, you have to play this before every person that gets their wisdom teeth pulled. Like, this is just like straight up Death on the Highway type stuff. Like, this probably isn't going to be you, but like, you know, this could be you. Creepy and scary. But then to meet with the actual oral surgeon afterwards, and he just looks at my teeth and he's just like, I can have this done in 30 minutes. He's like, when do you want to schedule this? And I'm like, well, I start a new job next week, so I'll call you guys. Anyway, that was what I had to do today. That whole process, I get there at 11:30. I was done at 1:00 exactly. Yeah.
So speaking of dental things, did you know that Clive Barker was in a coma in 2012 because of a dental issue?
No, I did not.
So, I read about this a while ago, but you talking about these things. So basically, in 2012, Barker entered a coma for several days after contacting toxic shock syndrome, triggered by a visit to the dentist where a slippage of a poisonous bacteria, spillage of a poisonous bacteria entered his bloodstream, almost claiming his life.
Yeah, and that is one thing that they went over in the video. Not specifically like that specific, but they're like, you know, hey, you know, bacteria does exist in your mouth, so like infections can happen. Usually respond to amoxicillin or some type of penicillin or something like that. So yeah, so stuff like that could happen. Yeah,
Yeah, pretty crazy.
pretty crazy and pretty scary. Like it's the weirdest, dumbest stuff that. Like I have no problem with getting it done. Obviously, I've had it done. I've had tons of oral stuff done.
Sorry. No, I have allergies.
Yeah,
Oral.
but it's one of those things that you never think about it until like you're really presented with it, and you're like, oh, good God! Like I could like die from this, or like have serious complications from something so simple that they have like there has to be millions of people that get uh, wisdom teeth extracted every year.
Yeah, I
You
mean
know,
it's insane to think that something like that. Like you think, all right, open heart surgery, chance of dying. Transplant of some sort, chance of dying. Fucking giving birth in the back of a taxi cab, possible chance of dying. Getting your wisdom teeth pulled, which, by the way that you describe it makes me think that saying the term getting your wisdom teeth pulled is probably incorrect, because if they have to break it apart and just scoop out chunks, it's not really pulling them.
yeah.
But whatever.
So even in my first when I got the one wisdom tooth pulled, like I said, did it under local anesthetic, local Novocaine, whatever it is, and I distinctly remember them using one of the little mini sawzall or whatever to chop the tooth into quarters, and then they had to like take a tool and pry it apart and break it. So like I physically remember the crunching of the tooth and
that's
breaking,
fucking disgusting.
and then the extraction of it. And they even showed in that little video, they're like, okay, we might have to take it out in pieces, so we'll cut it up and like pull it out. Novocaine's good though. Like I didn't feel anything the first time I did it. I can't imagine that I'm going to feel anything this time.
It's just the after effect, right? Like just feeling the sore mouth afterwards.
Yeah, the soreness afterwards, I do remember like it being fairly bad. They already mentioned what they would prescribe me, and I can't remember what it was. But it was there was an antibiotic, and then there was definitely a feel good painkiller in there too. I just can't remember what it was. Was it Percocet? No, I thought it started with a V. Nah, I can't remember.
Fair enough. Is it Viagra?
Yeah, no. A different type of feel good medicine.
Okay. All right, just try. I don't know. Anywho, gross.
Anyway, so that's what I had to do today. What did you do today, Cody?
I went and saw Top Gun Maverick.
Top Gun 2, Top Gun Harder.
Yeah.
What'd you think?
Bro, dude, like, I know Mike said, so I haven't answered him, mainly because it pisses him off. But, so he said, what did he call it? Said the best sequel ever or something like that. What did Mike say? I can't remember what it was. Rolling back. No, not that one. Oh, wow, we talk a lot.
Yeah, we do. We do talk a lot.
Anyhow,
Let's see if I can help you.
He says something about like it's the best sequel. Why did it go all the way back down? You savages.
It does that.
No spoilers. We can't believe how much to enjoy Top Gun. Like, he hates Miles Teller's face apparently. Hey, how often do you think Mike listens to the podcast when he's not on it?
Never. I don't think he ever listens to it because that motherfucker works so much. I don't think he has time to actually do anything.
He does work a lot.
He really does hate Miles Teller.
Yeah, he hates his face apparently.
Oh, let's see. Was it before or after he invented potato nachos?
Bro, I know he. Okay, so for
Okay,
anybody
so
out
that's
there,
where. Okay, so he invited us to go see it.
oh, did you find it? Yo, best
No,
movie sequel
so
ever.
best
That's what it is.
movie sequel ever.
There
Yeah.
it is, yeah.
Okay, that's what he said.
So before I get to Top Gun, let's talk about this potato nachos, right?
Okay, go.
Okay. So I don't want to shatter his weed-fueled dreams, but he's eaten potato nachos before at a restaurant with you and with myself and with Paige all at one table. And it's
Yeah,
at that
it's what we used to get at Buffalo Wild Wings all the time.
no
For one.
like more recently an actual plate of like potato nachos, and it was at that the restaurant that's over here, that bonfire restaurant we went to that has like really good barbecue and stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah.
They had potato nachos. It's literally thick cut, but like Yukon chips, I believe they call them, because they're made out of Yukon Gold potatoes with like brisket and cheese and all sorts of stuff on it. Those are potato nachos.
Yeah, they would be.
I didn't want to bring that up to him. He may or may not hear this. Who knows? But just let him know he didn't invent that. It was already invented. Anywho. Top Gun. It is amazing.
By the way, go ahead and spoil it. I don't care because I don't think this is the type of movie that you can really spoil for me.
No.
I did not get the opportunity to go and see it with you guys today. For some reason, you really wanted to go see super early in the day. I just didn't have the time to because I had an appointment today.
Yeah, I kind of, that was my bad because last night before I was trying to rush to get the tickets before you went to sleep. And I was like, oh, I'm going to get the tickets. And then I was like, shit, I should have told Joe. I should ask Joe what time is good for his shit. And I was like, all right, well, whatever. He's going to see
whatever.
it eventually.
It is what it is. It's not exactly like, it's one of those movies that I don't hold as dear to my heart as some other people, the original Top Gun. I've seen it. It's good, but it's not Indiana Jones or Ghostbusters or anything like that, which I hold much more near and dear to my heart. Plus, I don't, and because I say spoil it for me, I don't care, because I literally don't think that there's no like gotcha spoilers in this movie. There weren't in the original movie at all. It's more of just like an action drama, I guess.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it's fair to say. And some of the plot is already kind of spoiled in some of the trailers. Like Miles Teller plays Goose's kid,
Yep.
I guess.
Yep.
That is now training to be Top Gun.
Sort of. So that's actually the cool part about it, and I'll get to that in a minute. Go ahead.
The only question that I would really have that I want to know before you get into it is the original Top Gun. They never really explained the enemy, who they were, what their intentions were. Do they do that here? Do they explain the enemy? Is there an enemy?
So yes, it is. So the thing about Top Gun, for anybody who hasn't seen the original Top Gun, there is a nameless, faceless enemy. All we know is they fly MiGs.
Mm-hmm.
So it's in it, and they have a logo that's not really indicative of any one actual real nation, but the way you make you think that it's either like Russia or like Japan, maybe. Only reason why. Go ahead.
The movie came out in the 80s, and that's really very Cold War-ish times. And so for me, like, if you were to have asked me before I really went into like trying to remember some of the actual first movie, and you have said who was the enemy in it, I would have been like, it was Russia, right? It was Russia. Cold War, Russia, MiGs, Russia. But then to actually have someone say, no, they actually literally don't mention at all who they're fighting in Top Gun. Yeah, I just would have thought it was the Russians. Anyway, continue.
So yeah, so in the original movie, it's one of those things where like in '86, like the Cold War, and it was a real thing. They never like a lot of those movies in the 80s. You either fought Nazis because it was a movie set in a different time, or you fought someone that was a lot like, a Russian type people, but never calling them Russians or anything like that. They're always like they always had a name. I remember. No, I don't remember this like because I was very young at the time, but I remember reading about like the kind of backlash that happened when Red Dawn came out because they specifically said like who that was like in that movie, and it was like that's kind of like, do we have tension with them, sort of thing. But yeah, in Top Gun, they never specifically say who it was. In this one, they do it. They don't either. So I'll just say right now, they don't tell you who it is. It's mainly just a nameless, faceless enemy who is also basically breaking NATO laws. So you could kind of guess, it's one of those nations in this one. And I haven't watched any videos on it because I literally watched it this morning and haven't done anything else really other than play video games and hang out with Paige. And I'm sure someone's going to point out the fact that like the markings on the jets that are in this are similar to the markings on the jets from the first one. So it's the same enemy, but they don't really specify who it is. What's smart about it, but also like it's weird because like obviously we're in a real world situation sort of thing, but they don't want to like say like this or that because obviously domestic problems, blah blah blah. Anyways, right? Anywho, so you get a very Russian vibe from this, but you also get a very North Korean feel from it, and it's all because in this one. So real quick to sum up what happened in the very first movie. So in the very first movie, starts off with our heroes, Maverick and Goose, who are fighter pilots. Maverick is the fighter pilot. Goose is his co-pilot, operations type dude, runs radar and radio and all that fun stuff like that. There's a name for it, but I can't think of what it's called. So co-pilot. In the beginning of the movie, they are in combat, active combat, and they go up against a couple MiGs. They end up killing or destroying the MiGs, and when that happens, one of the wingman, the one who's flying with them in the air. So wingman doesn't mean the person in the jet with you. Wingman is literally a dude who's like on your wing. He's like your wingman, right? He gets shell shocked. He hits tone on him. He loses his mind and goes nutty in the air. And Maverick has to help him land his jet because he is shaken. He's very badly shaken. Because of that, what happens is they are convening what they call Top Gun, which is the best naval fighter jet pilots in a school in Miramar, California, outside of San Diego. And because this other guy went AWOL, because of it, Maverick and Goose got slotted into going to Top Gun. They're great. They're basically like second place all the time. Like they're right there. But Maverick is a hothead. Well, not really hot. Well, yeah, he's a hothead, but he's a loose cannon. He doesn't really follow orders very well. He's very dangerous. So he's never been the number one. So anyways, this dude goes out. He goes to Top Gun. Top Gun is literally the school that teaches you the art of aerial combat or dogfighting. During this competition, the number one, so whoever gets number one gets on a plaque, their name on a plaque, and all this fun stuff, right? Spoiler for a movie that came out in 1986. Maverick is literally neck and neck with Val Kilmer's character Iceman, and at the very end, he's actually winning, but because Iceman flubs and can't make the shot of this maneuver they're doing, it's a not a real dogfight, it's a pretend dogfight. He goes to pull up, but his jet stream gets caught in Maverick's engines, and they sputter out like real jets do. That's why they don't fly right behind each other. Not like directly behind each other. They do like this stacked thing. Anyways, because of that, the engines fail. They go into a hard spin, I believe it's called, or flat spin, where the jet literally he can't control the jet. He can't get it to straighten out. And when they do this, they have to eject. Otherwise, they crash and burn. But because of this, the canopy doesn't clear properly. When they eject, Goose breaks his neck, hitting the canopy as they eject from the plane. He dies. Maverick is shaken by this, obviously, because he holds himself responsible because he could not control the jet. Flat spin, Goose dies. So he is about to wash out of Top Gun and literally get court-martialed. They review everything. He gets cleared of all charges, saying it was a freak accident. There's nothing he could have done. Goose's death is not his fault, legally. Obviously, that takes a toll on him because Goose is one of his oldest friends. It's like a brother to him. He kind of backs out of Top Gun, but he gets talked to by Kelly McGinnis, his girlfriend, his love interest in the movie, and she basically talks him back into going and just not giving up, going back and getting taking action. So he shows up to the ceremony where Iceman is being presented the Top Gun trophy, and number one congratulates him. They get orders to go right then and there that they're being sent out to go on a combat mission. Okay? Boom, boom, rapid, real quick. Some shit happens. Stuff's going down. Maverick has to be Iceman's wingman, and he does not like it. Anyways, shit goes down. They basically end up saving each other, become friends at the end. And Maverick kind of like is grown as a person. He's a better fighter pilot because of it. He's very humbled, as I referred to Paige yesterday. The movie's not about romance or action. It's literally it's a character movie about Maverick growing from being this hot shot, I think I'm better than everybody, to a humbled hero at the end of it. Okay, jump forward to this movie, Top Gun Maverick. It is literally in the span of the same amount of time that has passed in the real world. Maverick is only a captain, where 30 years service in the Navy with all his accolades, he should be like an admiral. He is in the beginning of this movie, he is actually a test pilot for a new type of jet with a new type of engine that is, their goal is to get it to go to Mach 10, which is extremely fast.
Yes.
He shows up, I'm not going to go through the whole movie, but basically that program's getting shut down. He then talks the crew into doing the test they're supposed to be doing that day, which is only supposed to be hitting Mach 9. He says, let's prove we can do Mach 10. They want Mach 10, we'll do Mach 10. He does it right as the general or admiral, whoever is there, Ed Harris's character, to shut the program down. Before he gets there, they run the test. He flies. Dude shows up. That's the scene in the trailer where he flies over and that guy's standing there in that jet. So he proves that their concept of the test plane can meet what actually exceeds it, which is a very Maverick thing to do, because they said that his dude that's with him is like, hey, this test we need to hit Mach 10, not Mach 10.1 or 10.2 or 10.3. Mach 10. As soon as you hit it, you come down. What does Maverick do?
Goes to 11.
Goes to 10.3. The plane breaks up and literally he crashes. Really hilarious scene, because you think like, because you see the plane breaking up, you're like, did they just kill Maverick in the first 5 minutes of this movie? Like, what the fuck?
Steven Seagal him?
Yeah, like, I was like, so are we telling the story of how he got to that point? Because I'm real confused.
And then he's breaking up around him, and it's slowly showing him, and it just pauses, and he's like, I bet you're wondering how we got here.
Yeah.
Well, let's rewind. Yeah.
So you actually see him walking in this down this rural mountain road, and you see that he's kind of beaten up. His suit's kind of jacked up and dirty and burnt in places. And you realize he obviously survived the crash or the breakup of the plane. And he walks into a diner, and this waitress is walking around, and he points at the glass of water, and she hands it to him. And he's wearing the suit, and he's wearing his very spaceman-y. It has like the locking helmet and everything because of like the pressure he has to survive going at a Mach 10. And so he's just downs this fucking pint glass of water, and he sits down and goes, "Where am I?" And this little kid goes, "Earth." Really funny scene. Jump to him. Basically, Ed Harris confronts him, says that you son of a bitch, you disobeyed orders. Luckily, you've been saved this time. You've been called back to Top Gun.
Okay.
So you think, well, he's like 60. Like, they're not going to have him like go against these younger guys, right? No, they want him to be a teacher because, unlike the first movie where they're actually competing in Top Gun, this is done a little differently. They're bringing back past winners of Top Gun to basically be trained in this essentially suicide mission that's happening with this enemy who is now building an underground bunker that they're going to store uranium in. So what this whole thing is this impossible mission is they have to go in as quickly as possible under ridiculous circumstances because this facility is in the valley of these two mountains that kind of like cross over, and it's like a big old dip down, right? And the only way in is completely covered by an airbase that has more superior jets than what we have. So they're 5th gen jets, and they're faster, deadlier, everything than what we have. And we know they are. And that's part of what Maverick was doing, is trying to make a jet better, but like a little different. Anyways, so he's been brought in because he is the only person who's ever kind of done the maneuvers that need to be done. And so he's here to train these and choose who's going to go on this mission. And in this, so basically what happens is he goes back to Top Gun. They have these, I think it's like there's probably 12 different people in their teams of 2. And he has to train them in these maneuvers and then choose which set are going into this combat, which is, one, super deadly because there's SAM missiles all over the place they have to worry about. And then they have this ridiculous maneuver they have to make to hit the plant and where they're going to be storing the uranium at. Because this all has to be before the uranium gets there. Because if they blow it up with uranium in there, they essentially nuclear waste everything around there, right? Like, that's bad to explode stuff with uranium in it, right? So they're on a time crunch of 3 weeks. He has to basically train them to do this ridiculous maneuver that's super deadly to them, but also was probably going to fuck the jet for ever being flying again, because they have to do this maneuver in lower altitudes because they can't get a bomb in because it's covered by SAMs everywhere. And there's these faster than their jets that are within 2.5 minutes of fly time from where they're at. Right? So the whole, again, I'm going to skip to the end here. The whole thing about this is Iceman pulls strings. You find out that Iceman has been pulling strings because he's the admiral of the Navy, and he's been pulling strings to keep Maverick in the Navy because he keeps in the Navy because he keeps fucking himself over by doing different things, by being Maverick essentially, and he proves it because he's in this like kind of like not really anything, just test piloting these jets. And he even fucks that up by going against direct orders. And so he's getting ready to get fucking... He won't retire. He can't get kicked out because Iceman keeps saving him. And so Iceman basically calls upon him to come back to Top Gun and teach these kids this maneuver. Find out that Goose's kid, Rooster, as he's called in this, his call sign is Rooster. Bradshaw, right? Is that his name? Yeah, it's Bradshaw. He is in the Navy. During the course of this, you find out that Maverick actually pulled his application to join the Navy as a pilot, setting him back 4 years. Because he didn't think that he was ready to join the Navy. You later find out that his mother, played by Meg Ryan in the first movie, actually asked Maverick on her deathbed to stop him from going into the Navy, because he wants nothing more than to be what his dad was.
Right.
So Maverick doesn't tell him this, doesn't tell him anything about what his mom's wishes are. He literally just takes the blame for it, and has been hated for years since. So there's tension when they meet at Top Gun. And of course, there's a dynamic, just like in this movie. And it's cool because they don't do like an exact thing. Like there's an Iceman and there's a Maverick and there's, a Goose. There is Rooster, who is never really, like, you hear this story about him running out of fuel one time, and like basically putting himself at risk in the jet, obviously. And then you have this guy named Hangman. And Hangman, they call him that because he's like a hot shot, but he's like a mix between Maverick and Iceman, where he's that good, but he's just good enough where he will do what he needs to, and he doesn't care about anybody else. So he leaves you out to hang. Like, he leaves you hanging. So that's the cool dynamic, because it's not an Iceman and a Maverick. It's like a kind of a mix between the two. And Rooster is very much like his dad. He's more reserved. He's really good pilot, but he just doesn't have the leadership quality needed to be the leader of the fighter of the group. And of course, it's up to Maverick to make sure he's there, because Iceman believes he needs to be that, and he can be that. Blah blah blah. So Val Kilmer does return from this movie. Obviously, he has the cancer in his throat, so he can't really talk. So they do it a really cool way. So the way they do it is you see a picture of him, and when Maverick shows back up to the Naval Academy or to Top Gun, and then he gets a text message from Ice, as they call him in this, Ice, because it's his nickname in his phone, and he's like, how's it going, blah blah blah, all these different things, and eventually he says, I need to see you, and he's like, it's not a good time. Some shit's going down. He's like, I'm not asking. So then he goes there. He goes to Ice's house, and when he gets there, he's greeted by Ice's wife, and there's pictures of their family, and there's people playing in the backyard, and he just, in one line, literally shattered my emotions. She doesn't even say anything to Maverick. She looks at him, and he goes, so it's come back. Basically meaning that whatever in the movie, they've given Ice cancer. Like, he has cancer, and it's basically it's coming back. So he has, gotcha. And she says to him that they don't know how long he has. I was done. I was like, are you fucking shitting me right now? Like, this is what you're doing to me? Like, what the hell's wrong with you? So then they kind of talk. He goes into Ice's office, and there he is. There's Val fucking Kilmer. And instead of talking, he types on his computer, and it comes up on the screen, and that's how they kind of talk back and forth. And then at the very end, he does talk to him, and he tells him, like, thank you. And one of the best lines is, at the end, he goes, tell me one thing. Who's the better pilot, you or me? And Maverick is like, he's like, we were having such a good time. Why do you want to ruin it? Super hilarious line. Anyways, going forward, he's basically being pushed. He doesn't want to make the decision to send, because he knows Rooster's good, but he doesn't want to be responsible for sending him in, and either him not coming back because the mission's fucking stupid, dangerous, or if he fucks up and gets other people killed, Maverick's obviously going to feel bad about it, right? Mm-hmm. Feel guilty. So he's torn by this decision. And so there's this like back and forth between him, and Rooster hates him. Mm-hmm. Hates him. Because obviously he's the one that killed Goose. Yes, it was an accident, but still killed him. And he pulled his papers, so he set him back 4 years in his career. Because by this point, he should have been higher up in the rankings, because he is that good. So there's that animosity. You have the love interest, which is Jennifer Connelly, who is, you get told that they had a relationship earlier in their lives, and she now owns the hard whatever the name of the bar is. I can't remember, Hard Top or something like that. And so they kind of rekindle their romance, and there's all these different beats, obviously from the very similar to the first movie, but like different. Instead of shirtless beach volleyball, they actually play what he refers to as dog fight football, and it's where you play offense and defense at the same time. So there's 2 active balls being thrown, and you literally have to try to stop the other team from scoring while you're trying to score yourself. It's a really cool scene where they were like on the beach, shirtless, and having fun, right? And it's a team building exercise. He used it on the opposite of what the volleyball was, which is like the 2 pairs always against each other, like pilot and co-pilot, blah, blah, blah. This was trying to meld the team together. So they do that, blah, blah, blah. Exercise goes wrong on one of them, and they almost lose 2 people. And it hits Maverick real hard, and it hits Rooster real hard because it's kind of like this girl that you think he's kind of has this thing with. And it was obviously very close to him and Maverick because of what happened. So it kind of shakes him, and Maverick gets he's like I don't know what the fuck to do. Then he finds out Ice dies, and he is wrecked. Like he's like, I don't know what to fucking do. Like I'm in this no-win situation. My best friend in the world just died. You know what I mean? Like all these things, right? Then he gets removed as teacher because they believe he can't make the right decision. Mm-hmm. Then the timeline gets jumped up a week because they basically they know that something's happening, so they're moving the uranium in early. So now it gets pushed up, and they only have 10 days, and this is a ridiculous thing. Blah blah blah. On he goes. So he's like, "What do I do?" Genevieve Conley's like, "Why would you let them take this away from you? Like you need to prove that you need to be there." So he goes and does not the mission, but the pretend mission they've been practicing. He shows that it can be done. It's very dangerous to do, but he can do it, and he did it in less time than what they actually technically have, because they give him 2 minutes and 30 seconds to get into the active area and perform the mission, which is a 2-stage, they call it 2 miracles, because it's two sets of fighter jets have to go in, and one has to blow open the thing, the other person has to destroy it, and they can't do it at the same time because of the SAM missiles. So he proves that they can do it in less time, but he almost destroys a jet. Like the jet's unflyable. Mm-hmm. So they basically, John Hamm's character is like, fine, fuck it. You prove that this can be done. You're gonna do it, and you're gonna pick your team that's gonna go with you. And he's like, well, that turned out the other way I wanted. Like I want to be a pilot, but also this mission's fucked. So he ends up choosing Rooster to be one of the lead of the second set. So there's Dagger 1 and there's Dagger 2 and there's Dagger 3 and Dagger 4. He's with Dagger 1. He's Dagger 1. Maverick's Dagger 1 with his wingman Phoenix, the female fighter pilot's in it, as Dagger 2, and then Rooster's Dagger 3 along with another guy who's Dagger 4, and he's the lead of that group. And he's the most important because he has to make the kill. He has to blow up the thing. So, spoiler, they do it. But they end up, so the whole thing is there's the airstrip that has these advanced jets. Before they make their strike, before it happens, they send a bunch of missiles to destroy the airfield and all the planes. So that way they can't scramble jets. Mm-hmm. Now they all have to do is contend with staying out of radar range for the SAMs to get them. Okay? Cool. Okay. That seems hard enough by itself. And then you have this ridiculous maneuver you have to do to blow up this super fortified bunker that's under the ground. It's ridiculous. It's so nail-biting, it's stupid. And you're like, it's going to fucking work, right? Like, it's Top Gun. They can't lose. They're the best. So they're doing this, and Rooster has, that moment, he has that, I can't do this. And then his words, he's like, Dad, talk to me. Tell me, what I should do. And then he remembers Maverick's words, when you're up there, don't think thinking gets you killed, just do. So he's like, "Fuck it, let's go!" And he just boom, and he catches. He goes back to it, and he re-engages. Tom Cruise or Maverick and his wingman make the maneuver. They expose the bunker. They blow up the thing that leads to it. And now they have to climb back out of this ravine, pulling like 10 Gs, going up and over this thing. But they're gonna be in range of the SAMs, so the other strike has to happen right then and there. So the SAMs don't have a chance to shoot at anybody else. They have to kind of exit at the same time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Happens, they blow it up, right? Cool. But there was 2 bogeys that were already flying around, and they got wind once the airfield got blown up that they need to go back and protect this bunker. So they come flying back, and they're in those better jets. So like, fuck, we need to get out of here. But they're in a dogfight with SAMs, trying to blow up the fucking, like, not getting blown up, right? Trying to get the fuck out of here before these jets who are like a couple hundred miles away catch up, because it only takes them a few minutes. Because they're fucking they're fucking fighter jets, right? Like hundreds of miles in minutes, right? You know. So they're super awesome fucking like shots of like the dogfights with the SAMs firing rockets, and you see the jets like flying in and out, like trying to avoid each other, but like flying away from each other, shooting off flares. It's fucking cool as shit. Audio, by the way, fucking just rock hard, dude. Sounds so good. So they're doing that, and then Rooster runs out of flares, and so a rocket's coming at him. So Mav pulls a fucking maneuver, gets behind him, hits the flares, blows up a missile, but gets hit, and he goes down. And you're like, oh, wait, what? And they're like, we don't see a shoot. We don't see a shoot. What do we do? Like, is he still like? And Rooster's like, we have to go back for him. Like, you can't fucking go back. These jets are the bandits are coming in. Like, what are you gonna fucking do? You can't land your jet and pick them up.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and they can't send in search and rescue because these fucking fighter jets are there. So they're like, go. And so you go back, and they're like, the one of the best moments is the kind of like Rooster's rival, the Hangman dude. He gets set as reserve, so he's not with them. And he's like, let me go in and help them. They're like, no, we don't have, their jets are more superior than ours. They're going to fuck you guys up. We just need to get them back before they catch up to them. So they're going, and they're like, fuck. And then it cuts back to Maverick wakes up in the snow. And he's like, what the fuck just happened? He's like, how did I survive this again? So he's sitting there, and all of a sudden he hears a noise, and a fucking giant-ass attack helicopter comes swooping in towards the wreckage and just opens fire on him. He fucking runs, jumps over, and it comes around the log that he's at, and it's about to open fire. But boom! Gets blown up. Rooster comes flying in. He's like, I'm like, holy Christ, dude. Like, heart's racing. Like, I know they're going to shoot fucking Tom Cruise in the face with a fucking 50 cal Gatlings, but maybe they are, you know? Like, fuck, dude. They already made the dude blow up twice in that jet. So I'm like, fuck, dude. All right. He gets downed. Rooster does. And
Okay.
Mav is like, what the fuck is happening? So he's running over, and he's like, so he's running there. They confront each other. Like, what the fuck are you doing? He's like, I saved your life. He's like, I saved your life. He's like, yeah, but I'm not going to leave you behind. He's like, you're supposed to. That's what I sacrificed myself so you could get away. And then like they kind of, he's like, what were you thinking? He's like, you told me not to think. And he's like, fuck, you're right. And they have this moment, and they kind of come together. And then there's the classic 80s ending. So now they're in enemy territory, right? They don't have jets.
No.
They're like, what the fuck are we going to do? Mav's like, I have an idea. And Rooster's like, you going to fucking share this with me? So they go to the air base, and there's one jet left. Can you guess what it is?
Okay. It's got to be some sort of Harrier type thing.
F-14.
Oh.
Like the one they flew in the first movie, because I left that out earlier, but when they talked about the air base and the enemy air base, they had a bunch of these new ones, and they had a couple old F-14s.
Mm-hmm.
And so the runways are fucked.
Right, which is why I guessed Harrier.
Yep, everything's fucked. So they're like, "What are we?" He's like, "What are we gonna do?" Like, he's like, "I got a plan." He's like, "Are you gonna share this plan with me?" He's like, "Nope, hold on." And like, none of the instruments are really working, right? Because like, it's kind of a decommissioned-ish in a way, like an old ass plane from fucking 30 years ago. Mm-hmm. So Maverick opens the wings, right? So it gives him the most amount of lift, but also it's not designed that way to take off. It's supposed to be sleek and, get up quick, but they have a short runway. So he literally opens it, fucking floors it, and just barely makes over these tanks and rips off the front landing gear.
Nice.
They're like, all right, we're good. We're getting the fuck out of here. Oh, no. Bandits show up. Here are the jets. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, they don't know it's them. They think it's one of theirs because it's marked with their logo. So he's like, mask up. Just smile and wave. So they pull up. One gets next to him. One gets behind him. Not good. Mm-hmm. Right? So Mav's like, all right. He's like trying to signal the guy like. And the guy's like giving me hand signals. And Rooster's like, what does that mean? He's like, I have no idea. I have no idea what that means. And he does another thing. He goes, what about that one? He's like, nope, never seen that one either. He goes, what are we going to do? He's like, get that radio working. So he's like trying to get it going. And Mav just fucking boom goes back and just shoots right through one of them and disables the jet. The other one fires a missile at him. He's getting ready to fire. So he's going, he's like, hey, let me know as soon as you see smoke, which is the call for a missile in the air. And he's like, so Rooster's now looking around fucking classic style, right? Boom, boom. He's like, smoke in the air. And so he dives and he goes on the other side of the down bad guy jet and it blows up that jet as it's falling out of the sky. Great fucking shot. I'm like, yes, dude, that's so cool. That's fucking Maverick shit, right? So then you're going and they're like fighting, going all their shit. He's like, all right. So then he makes his maneuver, gets behind him, and this fucking jet pulls this fucking maneuver. He goes basically like literally a flat spin, but in the air, and completely does a U-turn. And Maverick's like, what the? And Rooster's like, what the fuck was that? And like this, and now this fucking jet's right behind him. He's like, holy shit! Like we are outclassed. Like we were outclassed before in the F-18s. We're super outclassed in the F-14s. So they're going. Then it's a dogfight, and then he ends up basically going back through the canyon they used to get in, and maneuvering around and basically destroying that bandit. And they're like, oh, cool, we're good. I'm like, oh man, this is way too intense. My heart cannot handle this. Then all of a sudden, radar lock hits him. And they're like, what the hell? He's like, I don't see anybody. He's like, he's in front of us. And you see in front. And the guy fires a missile. And they fucking barely get out of the way. And the dude rips around him. He's already behind him. And they're like, what the fuck? He's like, all right, I'm going to try to do whatever I can. And Rooster's like, doing some of that pilot shit. Like, do some of that shit, right? Like, do it. I've heard all these stories. Fucking do it. So he's barely getting like missile barely fucking like I think they use their flares, the last bit of flares to destroy the last missile. He's like shit, completely out of bullets because they used it to kill the second one. And he's like shit. Like he's like all right, so he's getting kind of like the guy's shooting at him like bullets. He's like fuck, and he gets a little tagged. He's like shit, like we can't take much more. He's like all right, and then he gets hit again. He's like shit, like we cannot, like we're fucking getting riddled here. You have to do something. He's like, all right, I'm going to go up. When I tell you, you have to eject. He's like, fuck, okay. He goes, and it doesn't fucking work. It's so old, and it's just, this doesn't work. He's like, it's not working. He's like, shit. He's like, all right, he's like, I'm going to try to go up. So he starts to climb, and you're like, is he going to get shot down again? Like, you can't do this to me. I'm like, my heart's fucking, like, I can't do this. And I'm like, you can't lose Rooster, right? You can't. That's terrible to do to everybody.
Yep.
And the movie's called Top Gun Maverick, so you're not going to kill Maverick, right? So what's going to happen? And the fucking other jet gets blown up, and it's Hangman. He fucking showed up and saved him. I was like, oh my god, dude, please end this fucking movie before my heart explodes because you keep fucking doing this shit to me. Oh my god. roll credits, happy ending, all good. Fantastic. Great movie. Great sequel. Mike is not incorrect. It is one of the greatest sequels ever made. It has those things where, like I said, it has these beats that mirror the first movie, but are different. Like, they're not like, oh, let's tweak this. They're to remind you what happened before.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, but they took it like the volleyball thing, right? The volleyball thing was literally a competition between the teams. The dogfight football was literally to bring them together to work as a team. It was, oh, dude, it was so good. It was, everything about it was so good. And there was, like, there's the romance thing, right? Blah, blah, blah. There was a lot of people talk about, like, how, like, this movie's going to be woke because the girl's going to be the hero, whatever. And, yeah, she was important, but it wasn't about her. They didn't try to force that on us, right? Which, if they did, that's fine. But they didn't, which is good. I mean, yes, she was one of the best fighter pilots, but, you know, and she did a good job. She did what she was supposed to. But it was all about Maverick, obviously, Top Gun Maverick, and it was all about Rooster and their relationship and leading up to it. And at the end, like, they're, like, together. And it kind of goes back to the beginning of the movie where when you first see Tom Cruise, he's at this, like, hangar that he has at the prototype flying place, and he's working on this old plane. And so it goes, the end of the movie goes back, and he's working on the plane again, and Rooster walks over, and he shows him what to do to help him fix it. And then the love interest shows up, and, like, it has this cool fucking ending with, I was like, yes, dude. I stood up, I clapped. I was like, get out of your fucking seats, everyone. Clap for this movie.
You never stand up and clap.
Yeah, no, I didn't do that. But, I mean, in my brain I did because it's how good it was.
Fair enough.
It was just, I mean, it was cool, too, because they used a lot of the old music. They used, you know, Into the Danger Zone, all that fun stuff throughout the movie. But then Lady Gaga actually had a new song that was the credit song.
Okay.
That was really good, too. It was just, they did justice to the movie. They made it a tremendous sequel, but they didn't, like, they stuck the landing, right? Like, that's what it comes down to, is, like, they didn't take a property and try to reboot it. They did a true sequel that, in my heart, being someone who loves Top Gun, from being young and impressionable when it came out, because I was the ripe old age of 5 years old when it came out, it hit, and we watched the first one last night before we went and saw it this morning, and everything was so well done in it. It was one of those things where, like, the first movie was very shallow, and, like, you know, having this, but it was all about, it was the characters. It wasn't about the jets. It was just, those were just, you know, things. It was all about Maverick and his loss and him growing, right? This is the same thing, but, like, extension of it, right? Like, you could see he became, like, a lone wolf after what happened. And so, like, when he was doing the test pilot stuff, it's him at risk of dying, right? It's him this. Then he realizes that he has to have other people with him. Like, it was just so good. It was just, I could fucking talk about this for fucking hours. I highly recommend seeing it. If you do want to go see it in the theaters, I'm down to go again. Because it's so good. It's so well done. It's very cleverly written. Yeah, there's some, like, you know, whatever in it, but it's like, because it's a make-believe movie. You know what I mean? It's like, we're not playing with real fucking, like, real, but it's, like, real enough. Like, the most outlandish thing is the prototype jet he's flying, because it's essentially, like, a ridiculous, like, and it's probably close to something they're doing, but, like,
it's something that they have been working on. Yeah, NASA's X434 or something like that.
Yeah, so, like, that's kind of what it is. Like, so that's cool, but, like, you can obviously, like, you know, that's, like, the most, like, and I was like, are they going to space? And then it kind of makes more sense with the whole suit, but, you know, and I'm not saying it's bad.
Be very high. The problem with that type of jet is that you're hitting Mach 10, which is like 7,000 something miles an hour or something like that.
Yeah, and it's intense, dude.
You have to be in an area where there is still atmosphere, because the type of engine that they try and run on that is if I recall right, is what's known as a ramjet.
Yeah.
But you also have to be very high up to the point of where there's not going to be a whole lot of drag, because too much drag is going to cause too much friction, which is going to cause your plane to break apart very fast.
Yeah. And there's some cool effects about the plane that like shows it's really cool. And they do actually say switching to ramjet, and he flips a switch and hits it, and the engines change.
I'm curious if they probably even used just the design of what the NASA's...
Oh, yeah, they do. Yeah, it's that weird arrow shape one.
Yeah, it's like a wedge shape.
Yeah. Yep.
With it has that protrusion on the bottom of it. That's the ramjet intake. Yeah. Okay,
and they show
then that is it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fucking cool, man. It's super dope. It's just the movie's just fun. Like it's one of those things where like if you enjoy the first movie, you will enjoy this one. Paige was like a little apprehensive about the first one. She's like, "This makes no sense to me." I'm like, "It's because it's an '80s movie. It's a whole fucking you can't really like '80s movies not being around them when you were younger."
Yeah.
Because like it's not really like it's never about like it's not high art,
No.
It's definitely it's this means to tell a story, sort of thing. But this one, it's again. There's very little substance in the movie other than the character work, and that's what was cool about it. But the visuals, fucking phenomenal. Like when they say like, "Oh, we really flew these jets," bro, the shit they do in these jets is ridiculous.
Nice.
Like I guarantee there's very little CG other than the super, super stupid dangerous stuff they do, because they're obviously not going to have real people do that shit. But it looks great. And it could be because like I had like a sheen of tears in my eyes like almost the entire movie, but it looked gorgeous. And the action it's the cool thing about the action too is there's a lot of it that's in cockpit, but then there's a lot of it that's like, you see the jets and stuff, but there's like some really cool shots of like frantic camera work inside the cockpits and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy, dude. I highly recommend it. If you couldn't tell, I liked it a lot.
It seems like it.
Yeah.
That's dope.
Yeah, man. I like I said, if you want to go see it, I'm down to go for a second viewing for sure. For sure.
I don't know what my schedule is going to be like.
Yeah. We'll figure that out, man. We got you, dude. We'll figure it out. We'll do something. But yeah, no, it's a super fun time. Very highly recommend anybody who wants to see it go see it, because it is an excellent movie watching time to be had.
Cool.
And also, the first one was rated PG.
Makes sense.
But there's like...
Not like there was blood, gore, or a lot of cursing in the movie.
It was just I mean, there was violence, but like it was like the sex stuff in it. But yeah, it was just... But then you got to remember, like, it was made in 1986, so that was before PG-13 was a thing.
Yeah, that's true.
So, but yeah. Anyhow. That's it for me, at least. Unless you have something else you want to bring up.
Nope.
All right. Well, in that case, this has been Comes Naturally, and we've been...
Joe.
I have been Cody. As usual, you fuckers just came naturally.
Bye.